make sure that this is a real movement moment. And that we don't let the channel turn next week and Trump sends out some silly tweet. And all of us, he's already done that, by the way. But all of us get distracted from the difficult work that has to be done on this issue and on so many others that we start to chase the tail of that rabbit, right? Let's not let that happen. I want to say that although I'm the mayor of Tallahassee, I'm actually from down here. As you heard, I'm from an area called Richmond Heights too. In fact, growing up in South Dade, who my mother and my father bore 7 of us, all boys and 1 girl, my baby sister. Yes, my mother was determined to have her daughter. And I'm very happy as the 5th child that she was number 7 and not number 4. Because I want to be here. But I'm so proud of her. She worked for nearly 8 years at the Southern Poverty Law Center and is now in her second semester as a freshman at Cardozo Law School in New York, where she wants to practice public interest law, trying to change the architecture of the juvenile justice system for our young kids. But growing up, my mother was a school bus driver, and my daddy was a construction worker. And when there was no construction work to be done, you might find my daddy on a street corner selling fruits or vegetables, or on Saturday mornings across from the cemetery selling flowers. My mother, when Florida got rid of summer school, she became a presser in the dry cleaners in the hot summer days. You'd find her pressing those shirts. I used to joke that I used to go to school with my jeans with creases in them, which was not very in vogue for a boy, to have these creased jeans that you could cut a wrist with. But my mother and father are 2 of the hardest working people that I know. They set an amazing example for me and for my siblings, for my cousins and others who got to watch their example. And they did everything that they could to make a way for their 7-headed kids. I, as the 5th child, became the first in my family to graduate from high school and the first to graduate from college. And to see my little brother and little sister come behind me to do the same thing, you can't tell me I don't know what it means to see intergenerational poverty interrupted at the hands of a good public education. And so when I talk about education, and I feel it in my bones because I know what it has meant for me and what it has meant for my family. Education in the public education system. Can we underscore public?
Yes.
Not the for-profit, private. But the public system. We've seen and are increasingly seeing almost a wholesale turning over of the public system into a for-profit, private, profit-making enterprise. At the risk of our children and their futures and their education. The public education system is the contract that exists between its government and its people. From as early as many of us can think. Let's say regardless of where you come from, where you grew up, what your mama or your daddy did, every kid ought to have an opportunity and access to a high-quality education system. Right? Public system. And that's been interrupted. In the state of Florida, it's literally being snatched from under our feet, under our very noses, under our very eyes. Every year there is another effort to take money and siphon money away from the system. We also have in this state the cottage industry of testing.
Yes.
I know it. I'm in Tallahassee, and I can't go out to a lunchtime restaurant without sitting next to some visitor from outside of the state of Florida who is coming in to sell another testing instrument to the legislature. The DOE hadn't found an instrument for testing that they don't like, which is why these tests keep changing year after year after year. There's a huge industry, money to be made in this. And who gets the short end of this stick?
Kids.
Our children. Our children in this state. Listen, y'all, I owe everything. Aside from my mother and the praying prayers of my grandmother and the example of my family members of hard work, I owe everything to those teachers. I had a teacher, Miss Alexandria. She told me as I was making the transition between 8th and 9th grade that she thought I was smart. God help us. And that I should register for honors courses. And I resisted and she persisted. And I ended up taking a couple of those honors courses as I moved into high school. And then I got there and I started liking it. And the other teachers said, man, you're bright. You should take AP, Lord. So I registered and I took the AP courses, and I opted out of some college courses because of my scores on the AP examinations. But it was these teachers who believed in me, who spoke power and a future into me. No shame to my daddy, but my daddy's thinking was that if I did good enough and stayed out of trouble, I could go to the military. But thanks to these teachers, they gave me a different aim. And unfortunately, I think that too many of our kids are suffering from the absence of that kind of passion, dedication, commitment. Why? One, we got a teacher shortage in the state of Florida. Two, we're paying teachers, we're in the bottom 10 states when it comes to starting salaries. Rock bottom. Right? And then because they're not being unleashed to do what we want them to do, I think we want them to do, and what they got into profession to do, which is to teach,